Hey everybody, Mr. Macintosh here, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to install macOS Big Sur on your unsupported Mac using Barry's Big-Sur-Micropatcher. In the previous video I showed you how to use Ben's Patched Sur to upgrade to Big Sur, but that would only let you go from Catalina. Now he's working to fix that so you can do it on High Sierra and Mojave, but if you wanted to do it right now, you got to use Big-Sur-Micropatcher. I'm going to show you what you need, the USB drive. I'm going to show you the supported hardware that this patcher supports, and I'm going to do the upgrade and show you everything you need to do to get going. Let's jump in and get started. The first thing we want to do is go over the supported Macs for the Big-Sur-Micropatcher. This list is the only supported Macs that we want to talk about. 2012, basically almost the entire lineup, and 2013 MacBook Pro. 2013 iMac, these are the ones that we're talking about. Again, if your Mac is not in that list, I recommend, again, do not install this patcher until better support for those particular models, if it comes at all. And I might do a video later just to show you what it looks like and the kind of the performance hit that you'll take if you do try to do that. So again, I do not recommend that. The next thing I want to talk about is making sure that you back up your Mac before you attempt this. Again, this is something that is not supported, but it does work because I've done it. In the previous video, you saw how well it worked with Ben's patcher. It worked amazing, and the machine works great. There's really no issues with it after I did the update. So that's what I'm telling you. I'm doing it on my machine before I'm showing it how to do it to your machine, and making sure you back up so in case something does go wrong, you want to always have your data there. The Micropatcher will support both upgrades, meaning that you can be on High Sierra, Mojave, or even Sierra and perform an update to the Big Sur using this patcher, or you can even do a clean install. Now that we've gone over the supported Macs, we got to make sure we back up our data first. Now we can jump right in to get the patcher's USB drive created with the patched version of macOS Big Sur. Now I've got a machine here that I've got a 2012 MacBook Pro that is not supported by Big Sur. It is fully compatible with the Big Sur patcher. So let's move over to that real quick here. And as you can see, we've got it ready to go. The first thing we need to do is we want to go to the Micropatcher GitHub so we can start getting the files that we need to create the USB patched Big Sur installer. So let's scroll down here, and I'll put all these links in the description down below so you'll have everything you need to walk through this. So here's all the instructions. We want to go over here to the releases, and we'll click on the latest release. And again, by the time of this video, it could be a later release. You always want to click on the latest release here. Okay, now we're on the releases page. So let's scroll down here, and here's the source code. All we need to do is click on this, and it'll download it right to your downloads folder. We'll give it a second here. The file is, the zip file itself is, I think, 55 megabytes. Okay, so now that we've got that, the only other thing we need is the macOS Big Sur full installer. Now there's multiple ways to get this. I've got a link here to the latest version of macOS Big Sur. Now as of this recording, it's 11.01, 20B50. But again, it could be 11.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by the time you guys watch this video, but it doesn't matter. As long as you get the full installer, that's all you need. I will have a link in the description to the latest version, but I'm showing you there's a link on the Mac Rumors forum directly to the install assistant package. What that'll do is that'll download the entire installer. It's a package. When you run the package installer, all it does is install macOS Big Sur to your applications folder. So when you go to applications folder, you'll see the entire installer there, and that's all that happens when you download it from Apple anyway, from the Mac App Store or any of the official places. Like for example, in your software update, when you do that, it does the same thing. It downloads the same package and it comes from Apple servers. So how do you know that, right? All you need to do is click on the link and then copy the link, and then we'll paste it right here, and you can see the links directly from Apple. So let's scroll all the way to the front here, and there you go. Apple's own software update server. Go all the way to the end, and you can see what the package is called, installassistant.pkg. Now when you hit enter on the browser, it's going to download the full 13 gigabyte package, and it'll put it right in your downloads folder. Now I already downloaded it ahead of time, so we don't have to wait. We can jump right into it. Now there has been some people that have said that if they're on 10.13 and 10.14, they get an install error when they attempt to install that package, and it doesn't work for them. So I've got another way you can do it. I've got my other page here that shows you multiple ways to download, and I'll put this in the description also. Download macOS. I've got different ways to do that in case that package doesn't install for you. and I'll show you where that is here. You can download it obviously from the Mac App Store, and you can do that all the way back to 10.13, but that doesn't work. I show you how to do it in the software update pane, but obviously this one's not going to work because you're on an unsupported Mac. But I show you using MDS, Mac Deploy Stick, and a Python script that will let you download any macOS full installer directly from Apple servers that is available. Okay, so that's downloading macOS Big Sur. We've already got that. We've got the patcher now, so let's minimize our browser. Now we're on the desktop. So let's open up our Big-Sur-Micropatcher folder and see what's inside. These are all the files that we're going to need to patch our macOS USB. Now again, you can use, for the USB, you can use anything you want. You can use a USB hard drive. You can use a USB thumb drive. It doesn't really matter what you use, as long as it's 16 gigabytes or bigger. So what I've got here is an external hard drive that I've got ready to go for when we build our installer. I've also got the Install macOS Big Sur full installer app right on the desktop, what we need to do. So let's first jump in and build the create install media, because we're basically going to follow the same instructions that you would use if your Mac was supported. We're going to build a install version of macOS Big Sur on our USB stick that we can boot to. Then we're going to use these scripts right here to patch that installer. So when we boot it, the installer would normally check, hey, is this a supported Mac? If not, I'm not going to boot it. But we're going to tell it, hey, we can boot. And we're going to create an EFI partition to be able to set the NVRAM variables for the patch Sur. Let's open up Terminal so we can hit Command Space, Terminal. Okay, now we've got to build the USB installer. Now I'm going to show you a quick way to drag the entire command to the terminal. So what we need to do is we can actually go inside the installer, right click on it, show the package contents, and we can see all of the files inside the Big Sur installer. We'll go into contents, we'll go into resources, and then here's our create install media. That's the command that we need to run. So all we need to do is drag that on over here. And look at that, we've got our entire command in the terminal. Still put that in the description if you need to so you can still see the full command. Now, one thing I forgot though is that we need to run this as an administrator. So we got to hit the option key, and then we can hit the back arrow here to get all the way back to the beginning. And we'll run it as sudo, that's running this command as an administrator, and then we can jump back to the end. And then we're gonna give it the option volume, because we were telling it to install to the volume on the USB flash drive. So now what we need to do is, well, whatever flash drive or whatever one you have loaded, we have to drag that over to the window. It's everything set up now. We're going to install macOS Big Sur on the volume, your USB flash drive. And again, it has to be 16 gigabytes or larger because the Big Sur installer is 13 gigabytes in size. So you want to have a little bit of room to spare there. All you got to do is hit enter, and you got to type in your administrator password. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to erase the USB flash drive? So again, make sure you don't have any data on there that you need, and then hit Y to continue. It's going to erase the disk. If it asks you about the time machine, just click Don't Use. And it's copying the files to disk. And again, depending on what kind of a drive you have, it's going to go faster or slower. For example, I'm using a Thunderbolt 2 to serial ATA SSD drive, so it's actually going very quickly. Now, if you're using like a USB 2 like flash drive or a flash stick, this is definitely going to go a lot slower. But for this demonstration, this is perfect for showing how fast it can be. That translates to when you're installing the operating system too. When you're in recovery and you're copying the entire installer to disk, that takes time also, and the faster hard drive or the faster connection that you have, the faster the whole process is going to go. So look, we're already at 70%. We're almost done. So the next thing we're going to do when this thing finishes, we actually have a full installer. So you could just use this on a supported Mac to install Big Sur, for example. But what we're going to do is we're going to use these scripts in the Micropatcher here, and look, it's making the disk bootable. We'll give it a second here, and then we'll pull up those scripts. There, it is now ready to go. We've got our full installer here, install macOS Big Sur, and now we have to patch that installer. So we're going to go back to our folder here with all of our scripts. We're going to run two scripts. The first thing we're going to run is the Micropatcher, and we can run this onto the USB installer without an administrator. So we're going to drag this over first. Now it's in there, that entire script, and then we're going to drag our volume over here because we're telling it where to run that script. We're going to run it on our freshly built macOS installer Big Sur. So we're going to hit enter. That's the first thing. You can see all the pieces that it installed here, and it tells you it's finished and it's ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to run the install set vars. Now this does require an administrator, so we're going to have to run that sudo again. So we'll type in sudo and space, and we'll go back here. We'll drag that install set vars script over here. And then we'll drag our installer over here too, and that's where we're going to run the script onto. And then that's it. And we'll hit enter. We'll enter in our administrator password. And there we go. It's done. It tells you that it fixed all the pieces it's going to need. And it also set up the EFI partition that we're going to need. Ready to go. This installer is now patched. And we are ready to install macOS Big Sur on this 2012 MacBook Pro. Let's get it restarted here. Okay, let's restart. Now what we're going to do is when we restart, we're going to hold down the Option key so we can see the boot selection menu, and then we'll see EFI partition that we're going to have to run first, and then we'll also see our Install macOS Big Sur bootable installer. And there's our chime. We'll give it a second here to load. And there is our selection menu. We've got our Install macOS Big Sur. That's our patched Big Sur, but we also have our EFI boot. We have to run the EFI boot first to set the NVRAM settings so we can boot and run the Install macOS Big Sur, and then boot Big Sur when it's done installing. Now here's what's going to happen. It's going to, as soon as I click this, it's going to run and set the settings, and it's going to shut down. Then all we need to do is boot it back up, and then we'll boot and hold down Option again, and then we'll boot to the actual Big Sur installer. Now keep in mind here, once we set these variables, these have to be set for as long as you run the macOS Big Sur patcher. If you decide that you don't want to run the patcher and you want to downgrade, all you need to do is reset the PRAM and you're back to stock system again. But if you reset the PRAM, you are not going to be able to boot back into your Patched Sur. So it's a good idea to keep your Patched Sur USB around, because you're going to have to boot into this EFI boot again, or you're going to get a prohibited sign and you're not going to be able to boot. So all you need to do is, if you reset the PRAM, that's fine, but you got to run this again and then you'll be good to go rebooting your system. Now one more thing before we continue here. I recommend that you also have a bootable installer, whatever OS that you were on before. If something goes wrong, it's easy to just boot your previous, like if it's Catalina, High Sierra, or Mojave, you can just boot right back to that and get back to where you were again, and then put your files back on your system. So again, it's always good to be prepared if something goes wrong. So you have your backup, you have all your files on a hard drive, and then you have your USB installer. You can always use Internet Recovery to do it, but sometimes that causes problems too. And it might bring you back even farther depending on your system, whatever Internet Recovery you boot to. So again, that's why I wanted to recommend that. So let's jump right in here and run this EFI boot, and it's going to shut the system down. And that's it. Shut it down. Now let me turn it back on here. Okay, we're back, and now after we've run the EFI boot, now we can run Install macOS, the patched version of Big Sur, the bootable installer. Now once we get in, we really do have two different paths that we can take here. If you want to just upgrade your High Sierra, Sierra, Catalina, or any of these operating systems that you're on, you can. All you need to do is click Install macOS Big Sur. That's it. And then it'll start the installer, and it will upgrade your current version to Big Sur, and it'll keep all your files, all your settings, and stuff like that. So that's one path. Now the next path is that you really can do a fresh install. You can erase the drive and install macOS Big Sur on your system. That's what's nice about this version, is that you can do both. It's kind of whatever path you want to take here. Sometimes when you have previous operating systems on there, it might be a little bit slower because of all the stuff that you've got in there before, and it's nice to do a fresh start. But it's also nice that sometimes you want to be able to have all your files and your settings on there. So again, you get to pick which one you want to do. In this situation, I think we'll do an upgrade. Okay, so now that we're at the language chooser, all we need to do is click on the next button here, and we're going to perform an upgrade. If you wanted to do a fresh install, you could. All you need to do is click on the disk utility here. Click continue. Once the disk utility loads, I like to click on view so you can see the entire folder structure. So I click show all devices. This is the top level SSD. This is the container that's created in the SSD, and this is the partition inside the container that holds macOS Mojave in here. And then of course course, this is our bootable Patched Sur right here. If you wanted to do a fresh install, all you would need to do is you could click on the container and hit erase, or you can click on Macintosh hard drive and click erase, and then you're off. You close disk utility when you're done, and then you click install Big Sur. In this situation, we're going to just do an upgrade to our Mojave that we already have in there, so everything will be on their account, all of our files and everything. So we'll click this, click continue here. And this is very straightforward. We all know how to do this part, so this is no big deal. There's no changes to any of this part, any of these parts. Make sure we click on the hard drive and then click continue, and that's it. It'll sit here, and what this part actually does is that it's actually copying all the files from the install disk to a temporary location on the hard drive. So after this part's done and it reboots and you see the Apple logo and the white progress bar and a black screen, you can disconnect your USB if you wanted to. Kind of wanted to let you understand what it's actually doing here. So it's copying all the files right now, and then the actual install part happens after it reboots. So we'll let this go, and it's going to take a little while. Come back after the jump because there's a couple extra steps we need to do here. The steps that we'll have to do is we actually have to patch a couple files after this install finishes. This is again going to reboot to that black screen, show installing for another 30 minutes or an hour, however long it's going to take, and then it's going to boot to the setup assistant. That's where we're going to shut down, and that's where I'm going to pick up after this. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay, now we're back at the login window. I said setup assistant before, but that's only if you do a fresh install. If you do an upgrade, you're going to be brought right back to your login window with your main account. Now, we're not done yet. There's one more step that we have to do. We have to apply some patches for Wi-Fi and other things in recovery before we can log in and start using our system. So at this point, we need to reboot. And we're going to hold down the option key so we can see our USB installer again, and then we're going to boot to recovery and run the scripts from the recovery terminal. Okay, so now we can just arrow over to our Big-Sur-Patcher and hit enter. It's going to boot us to our recovery. Okay, now that we're in recovery, we need to go up to the utilities and click on terminal. Once we're at the terminal screen, we are going to type in our commands to run the scripts. The location of the scripts are on the USB drive, so we have to navigate to those first. We'll do a /, we'll type in a V for volumes and hit the tab button, and it'll auto-complete volumes for you. The next thing we want to do is type in I and then click tab again, or image volume, and then we want to do P for patch text.sh, and it automatically gives us a space. Now we're going to run those scripts on the Big Sur hard drive. So we do another forward, we'll do V for volumes, and then Macintosh hard drive. If the name of your drive is something different, you can open up a new tab like this, just do a Command T, and then you can do ls to list, and then /V for volumes, and it'll show you all the volumes on your system. Let's say you just named yours like HD or something. You'll see that in list, and that's the one you're going to have to target. So we'll go back to the other window here, but almost everybody's hard drive is probably going to be called Macintosh hard drive. So let's hit enter, and there goes the script. Now I want to show you, I want to scroll up so you can see what's happening here. In the instructions, it tells you that you need to run an option on this patched texts.sh with the year of machine that you're doing. The good thing is the script has been updated, and Ben let me know this little tip that the script now automatically detects the model. So you can see detected model MacBook Pro 2012 2013 Mac using the --2013 patch mode. It'll do the same for if it finds a 2011 or if it finds a 2010. So we'll scroll down here and you can see all of the actions that it's doing, and then when it's done, you'll be at the bottom. It says, look at this, installed patch text successfully. Now all we need to do is reboot back to the operating system. We'll click on Apple and restart. There it goes. Booting back up here. Okay, we're back at the login window. We just finished patching Big Sur in macOS recovery. We rebooted. We're back at the login window now. We can log in with our previous account. Now, if we did a fresh install, we would have had to walk through the setup assistant. That's the same as reinstalling macOS if it was a supported version like Mojave or Catalina or anything like that. Now we can log into our previous account here. Now what I want to talk about here is notice the optimizing your Mac. Battery life and performance may be affected until completed. This is doing all kinds of things when you first finish your upgrade to Big Sur. Give the Mac a little bit of time to finish these things, and I'm going to show you one way to learn how long that's going to take. We'll click past these. Big Sur, on an unsupported 2012 MacBook Pro. So now let's go up to what I was talking about. You used to be able to click on the Spotlight search, and you used to have a little search gear up here that tells you how long it's going to take until the indexing is finished. The new way to figure that out is to click on the battery, and you can see the using significant energy Spotlight. When that Spotlight disappears, usually that's finished and the system should start going a little quicker. Now, a couple of things. If you notice the system's running a little bit slow, you can go into System Preferences, Accessibility, and then Display. Now, on 2010 and 2011 MacBook Pros, when we do this, and again, we're still not recommending that, you can reduce the motion, increase the contrast, and reduce transparency if you notice the system is a little bit slow when you're opening up windows and stuff like that. But again, give the Mac the time to finish this optimizing here, and then see how it is. If it's running a little bit slow, then feel free to come in here and try these out and see if it quickens up the system a little bit. If you did a fresh install, the system should be running perfectly. But like I mentioned before when we were talking about doing a fresh install and how that might be a good idea when you're running Patched Sur, if you have a bunch of stuff in your system from the years past, maybe it might be a good idea to give Big Sur a fresh install a chance first. Again, only if you're running slow. You might be in the system right now and you're trying out things and it's running fine. You can check out how Safari is. Safari seems to load just fine. Minimize here and everything seems to be working a-okay when we do that. One last important thing before we go is macOS Patched Big Sur updates. I've received a lot of questions on, hey, how am I going to update when a new update comes out? At the time of this video, Big Sur is on 11.0.1, and very soon 11.1 is going to come out. Everybody's going to want to make the jump to that, but I recommend not making the jump, and at least until maybe a week or so to see how things pan out. You don't know what Apple is going to change when they put these updates out. It could break something and you just want to wait. If something is broken, the community can come together and come up with a solution before you put this on there. Now, the other problem is that how we perform these updates. Right now, it's a little bit complicated. The developers of each of the patching systems are working on a better way to update. Right now, we have to download the entire installer and then just perform the update all over again. I'm going to have a video that comes out as soon as 11.1 comes out that you can follow, that I'll explain everything you're going to need to know with doing an update. In the future, and that's why you got to keep track, and I'll keep you updated on this, we might be able to do over-the-air updates with the different patchers, where you just start the application and click update and it will do everything for you. But we're not there just yet. Again, I'll walk you through the entire setup of what we'll need to do to be able to perform that. Now, there is one patch system, it's called OpenCore, that I'm looking at reviewing and possibly doing a video on. It's a little bit more advanced, but it does support over-the-air updates, meaning that you can just go on a software update and click to update. And you don't have to worry about any of these things. My first video in this series will be what I need to know about Patched Sur. The compatibility of the systems. Should I have an SSD drive? Should I do it on a Fusion drive? All these questions. Can I install it on 2010 and 2011 systems? That's going to be the first video of the series. So I will watch that first. Second video of the series is using Ben's Patched Sur system, which works really great. And this is the third video in the series. The fourth video will be how to update your system, and I'm looking at maybe the fifth video being the OpenCore. That's Patched Big Sur on a unsupported 2012 MacBook Pro. I hope that this worked out well for you guys, especially all the viewers that have asked for the High Sierra and the Mojave jump to get to Big Sur. I hope that this helps you guys out. If this video proved valuable and you liked it, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more videos like this in the future. And if you're already a subscriber, I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.